Hi, everybody. This is Jose Palomino with another episode of Business Growth on Purpose. And one of the things in working with B2B companies that comes up in developing their strategy, their marketing, and so on, is social media. Of course, it's no longer a new thing. It's a thing. It's part of the fabric of things. But in B2B, it's sometimes a little challenging to know how to think about it and what's possible with it. And it sometimes feels like a lot of money might go into it and not really getting the ROI. So to help unpack that, I've asked experts, social media experts, especially in the area of B2B, Karlyn Ankrom, to join us for a really dynamic session today. We're going to talk about what's possible, what might be some of your objectives, and maybe some simple approaches you can take at relatively low cost that would have high impact in advancing your status with potential customers, potential partners, and potential employees through the strategic use of social media. So listen closely as Karlyn joins us right now. Well, welcome, Karlyn, to Business Growth on Purpose.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And Karlyn, just for our audience, if you just give us a little context of what you do primarily and who you do it for.
Absolutely. So I own Snap Social. It is a social media marketing agency dedicated to helping business owners and their teams to create compelling content that ultimately leads to connection, conversation, and conversion. All of that, not at all the same time. They are building blocks after all. And we do that through our fan fire starter framework. Don't ask me to say that 5 times fast. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but it really helps people dig into the numbers so that they can build a strategy moving forward that hits the goals that they want to hit. And then we do all that content implementation and management for them so they don't have to, so they can get back to running their businesses.
Okay, fantastic. And so let me ask you just a question I'm sure will be kind of a layup, right? Or like what is it, fastball right over the plate, which is social and social media as a real marketing thrust or effort, is it not primarily for business to consumer versus business to business?
It is all of the above. I specialize in business to business, service-based professional industry, solopreneurs all the way to your neighborhood HVAC company and beyond.
Okay.
Because you're trying to reach ultimately either other commercial businesses where you have a commercial arm of your industry or your business, or that direct to consumer. So it just depends.
Okay, so it's equally relevant in those situations.
Absolutely. Okay. Just the strategies that you apply with each are different.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that, because again, I mean, anybody with just paying a little bit of attention, or anybody who's, you go to a restaurant and you see like a whole family of 4 and they're all like on their phones, right? So like,
yes,
I'm not saying it's a good thing, but it's a thing. It's a reality, right?
Yes.
So in that context, where does a business that, let's say, manufactures some heavy machinery, or manufactures parts for the company that makes heavy machinery, real pure industrial B2B kind of stuff, like iron and steel and stuff like that, right? How does social even play in that context?
Yeah, I think people's initial knee-jerk reaction is, oh, LinkedIn. Let's go to LinkedIn for that. And I think in some aspect, absolutely, because that's where a lot of the decision makers hang out. And more importantly, the gatekeepers of the decision makers hang out. Because if you think about it, CEOs, business owners are not on social. They hire people like me to go do it for them.
Okay. All right.
So it's understanding who the gatekeeper, or they hire their office manager or their admin, their executive assistant to manage all that for them. So you have to know who the players are in this game of chess that we have to play to get to that audience. Similarly, on the flip side of that, when people are at night watching TV on their phone, they're watching The Voice, they're scrolling, they're, whatever they're doing, they're at dinner eating, they're scrolling. They might be wearing the dad hat or the mom hat or the whatever wife hat, but at the same time, they're still a business owner. You know what I'm saying?
So they're not always in business owner mode, right? Throughout life, they could be at the kids' soccer game and so on. I've been in many of those.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not just appealing. They're not robots.
Right. And it's appealing to the education and the entertainment aspect of social media and interrupting what I call like people's like regularly scheduled programming with something of value that's relevant to them. That's why when we go, I always call it like Big Brother mode, where you go and research a hotel and then it follows you around the internet for a while.
Right, sure.
It's that kind of mentality, but from a social landscape where you are creating content, leveraging the behaviors, the hashtags, the keywords that your audience is using in order to be find your content.
Okay. And so let's talk a little bit, because you talk about your specialization in content, right? So what does that mean as a practical thing? Somebody's saying, okay, well, we have a Facebook page, but we don't get any business from that. And then you check it out and you realize the last time anybody posted anything was like, pre-COVID, right?
Yeah.
It's like, or COVID's happening or something like
that.
Yeah. Okay, you might want to update that. So, what kind of burden, maybe I shouldn't have called it a burden, what kind of opportunities are there for a company to create content? What kind of content do they need to create to be relevant in this social landscape?
Yeah, I think right now, and this all could change by the airtime, right? Like right now, short form video rules the roost. What do I mean by that? Think TikTok-esque style content, 10 seconds or less.
10 seconds or less.
Yeah. 7 seconds is the sweet spot for Instagram Reels right now.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, and I know AI is a big topic people have been talking about.
We're going to get there.
Yeah. There's AI pieces of this too, where if you have a longer form YouTube video, or maybe I'm going to use the HVAC example just because that's easy for a lot of people to comprehend. If you're doing a big install, right, at a commercial job, and you got like the crane and you got, all of the machinery getting lifted and like the technicians on the roof, like installing and running all the wiring and like all of that could be one clip and it could be 7 seconds long. Might have taken you all day. And I think that's the challenge for people, is they don't integrate content creation within their daily day of activities.
Right.
So we go out oftentimes on these jobs with these techs, and we're there for 2 hours and we're like, we pick a commercial job that they have 4 or 5 different things that they're doing. So we can get as much of the different content as possible, get in, get out. And then we have a ton of content to pull from going forward. And I think people think content is hard to do, but it's not if it's already top of mind. And that takes practice from a business owner perspective.
Right. So for example, one thing, and I've observed just some recently, especially I upgraded about 6 months ago to an iPhone, I think 13. It's already up to 14. But the cameras on these things are amazing.
Epic.
I mean,
they're almost too good.
Okay.
I'm like, 4K is a lot for anyone to care about on social, if I'm being honest.
Right. So it's too good for that. And the casual things, or even I've done some things, just interviewing somebody like we're doing now on Zoom and capturing that. It's good enough.
Yes.
And there's a general sense that people don't always need a Spielberg production to appreciate. I mean, TikTok's proven that. It's
100%.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and in fact, people like the messy, messy is relative of what you consider messy. They like the authenticity of it because it feels real. We're served thousands of ads every single day and you're like, another one.
Right.
Versus if it's Johnny at the job welding the 2 pipes together, like that with like the cool spark effect and all that, that's cooler to someone than like a stock video of someone they don't know doing that.
Gotcha. So. But you said something very interesting. You said integrating it into their normal day-to-day operation, right? So, because a lot of people think about this, they think about a lot of marketing this way, that, you have to outsource it. So now you bring out a firm, and there's a role in that, obviously, or else, it'd be a different business, but it has to be a big deal. And video tends to fall into that category. Most people still remember, especially anybody who's run their business 20, 30 years, video is like an event. And you bring in, all the lights and the studio and the videographer and so on. And the idea of, well, no, you got a video studio in your pocket.
Absolutely.
And it's good enough. In fact, to your point, might even be better than something that's too slickly produced. Yeah. So is that a real challenge when you work with business owners to get them to see that?
100%. I have recently offered up photo training and video training to people's staff. because of that gap. Especially in some of the businesses I get to work with that are not local to where I'm at in the DC metropolitan area. So, because I work with clients all over the country. And so for me, I have a photo guide that I can, share with them. I walk them through it. In fact, I just did this last month, beginning of the month at their staff meeting. So they didn't even have to have a separate meeting for me to come. I came in, I talked about the importance of photos because it's a handyman service. They have to do before and after photos as part of their CRM. Like they have to add that into the system, proving that the job was done and it was done correctly. So they have that receipt. And I was like, you're having to take photos anyway of the job. We might as well make them good photos. And just simple tips like, clean your lens of your camera, find
really,
right? Like it's the simplest things, but it's easy for people to forget because they are in that mode.
Right.
But if they already have to take pictures, I guarantee you I'm in the back of their head. Like, are you standing in the same spot where you took the before picture? Is there enough light on in here? Can I turn on more lights? Because I made them all little cheat sheets too that they could put in their folders when they go
No
to
kidding.
shows.
That's awesome. I love it.
Thought about laminating them, but I will tell you, because I've done this, we've gotten exponential photos of quality caliber than we had done in the months. I was like, why didn't I do this months ago? This was,
but it's interesting because just the human factor, right? It's beneath everyone's attention. No one's thinking, they might even think that can't be good enough, can it?
Yeah.
And I love the lighting thing because I've seen before and after, and the after is filmed at night almost. It's it's like kind of defeats the whole point.
I guarantee it took all day, but also maybe come back tomorrow. But yeah, it's definitely an ongoing challenge, and it doesn't matter what industry I always say people have to be our partner in content creation because, example, I can't be you on camera. You are you and I am me. And AI might change that whole dynamic eventually.
Scarily enough, right?
Scarily enough.
Right.
But for now, you got to be you on camera, and I can give you the directive of how to do that successfully where it resonates with your audience. But, and so the hands-off approach, totally hands-off, is not something that we play in too often.
Okay.
Hard to be successful.
Now, what about, and I'm going to just shift a little bit off the video for a moment, because I see that. I mean, clearly it's what's happening, right? And all you have to do is see somebody, but it's not just young people, see anybody go, oh, and you see they're going to the next video, and I said, the algorithm's designed for that. It's literally designed for addiction models.
Yeah.
That's what it's for.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But in B2B, especially, let's say higher level services, professional services, technology services, and so on, historically, there's always been a burden on having written content, longer form content, idea-based content, conceptual content. Is that gone away? Are we down to it? So it still comes down to it. The cat video wins the day.
It's funny because I think you can still give high value and really relevant content to your audience, but you have to think of people are scrolling and they're watching the cat video. They're watching more of that entertainment factor. So how can you make yourself more entertaining? As an example, Microsoft Excel, not overly exciting.
Right.
I just listened to a talk from Miss Excel on TikTok, and she was talking about how short form video changed her life and basically blew up a business from nothing because she went all in on TikTok, talking about tricks in Excel. Let that sink in for a moment. Excel, to me, gives me the hives, not generally sexy. But there's someone out there who was like, oh, how can I sort this spreadsheet easier? And found her resource and just followed her. And the way that she displayed it was through storytelling. And yes, some dancing. We'll get into that, but you don't need to dance and be all whatever. You give high value, have high energy, and also something to think about when it's a person on camera, it's going to resonate a lot better than like stock images or even like POV kind of content, point of view content.
Right.
people resonate with other people. And that's kind of the sauce when it comes to like
So
social.
people. So would you say,
Yeah.
let's say somebody's running a CPA firm,
Mhm.
which would be Excel, you kind of trigger that thought, right? Which
Yeah.
is outside of other CPAs, not that exciting. Sorry, apologies to all.
And also a very highly regulated industry.
Oh yeah. So all right. So now, are there examples, or is it an opportunity for a CPA to be on camera speaking about things? And that person, personality type, I know this is very stereotypical.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's exceptions to this.
Yeah.
But by and large, I've known a lot of accountants. Let's put it that way.
Mhm.
And not necessarily people that are going to do songs and singing and dancing.
Mhm.
They want to keep it straight to the number, like you said, highly regulated and so on. How can they bring their ideas, their insights, their wisdom through social without feeling like it's an out of body experience?
I think that is a challenge for a lot of business owners because they also feel like they need to look, feel, act a certain way. And something that people can tell right out the gate is if you're not being yourself.
Okay.
And if you're like showing up on camera as myself, Karlyn, is not my jam, don't do it. Do something different. Maybe you use the text to speech, right? And it's you like doing something right now that's super popular. Again, it could all change tomorrow, is setting up your camera, working in a time lapse video where it's going really fast, but you're recording like 20 minutes of you just like doing your thing, having a call, writing notes, like mailing the thing, talking to your assistant if they come in the office, that, and then you have it overlaid with a quick tip, right? Have you filed your quarterly taxes or whatever, right? Did you know that you could write off this?
Okay.
Right? Like it could be like you're filling your gas tank.
Okay.
It's like, this is a write-off, like whatever it is. It doesn't have to necessarily be you, because people will be able to tell if you feel uncomfortable.
Okay.
So.
No, but I like the simplicity of that, and
Yeah,
you're still giving the advice you want to give.
exactly. And I
Right.
think it's just consuming a little bit of that content. If you haven't already, just those that are listening, if you haven't consumed a lot of that short form video and you're like, after listening to this podcast, like I'm ready to go and consume some of it first so that you can
Right.
see, ooh, this resonates with me. Ooh, this doesn't resonate with me. Because that's something that I ask all of my clients. I'm like, do you feel comfortable on video? Yes or no? And people will be honest. They'll say, and then the next question is, if no, could you be talked into it if you had proper training? Right. And then some people are like, okay, yeah, I could.
Or is it like some people would rather attend their own funeral than say it
correct.
publicly? Right.
Yeah. And so it's finding that happy balance and that medium
Right.
aspect of that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always tricky though, but like I've over the decades, right, of like things like sales training, where at one point there was like you have to be humorous, or you have to be a certain way, and these are things that you either are or you aren't.
100%.
And if you're like not a funny person, you try to be funny, that's very painful for all involved.
Yeah.
It,
And
it's
it falls flat. Like I saw that happen to one of my clients, and she wanted to do trends, and I'm like, okay, great. And then she was doing trends and she's like, why aren't they? And I was like, they probably just don't feel like you. Do you feel comfortable doing them? She goes, not really. I said, then maybe we need to do like talking. I call them talking head reels, where it's you on camera sharing a tip.
Okay.
Rather than sharing a tip through a trending audio, which stresses you out having to lip sing and do all the stuff. And she's like, okay, let's try that. We did it. And the first one we did got like triple the amount of views that the trending one did.
Okay.
So her audience resonate with who she is authentically versus her trying to be this like trending voiceover person.
But that also has to be, then you're kind of hitting on another point, which is sustainability, like the ability to just keep doing it, because
Oh my gosh.
we've all seen websites that you could tell they tried to start a blog and they have 5 blogs from 2019. It's like, don't bother having, it's like you either do or don't. It's like one of those things. So it's interesting. So somebody in B2B looking at using social, should they be using it to attract new business, to connect with their current clients, to maybe enhance their position as a place to maybe come to work? What are the things they should be thinking about accomplishing by being more aggressive on social?
I think all of those that you mentioned serve a purpose, but you can't do all of them all the time at the same time.
Okay.
So it's about being intentional. It's about understanding what your goals are, but also at the same time where you're starting from, right? So if you're like, I want to grow my website traffic to this inquiry form by 100% from 2 days ago, like probably not going to happen.
Mhm.
But if you have a goal of like, well, right now we're at, we have 1,500 sessions every single month to this inquiry page, 50% of which are from social, right? And then you can go into Google Analytics and say, okay, Facebook is this, Instagram is this, Pinterest is this, whatever. Then from there, you can properly map to a metric that makes sense in terms of increase. If growing your inquiries, if that's what it is, you need to get that granular. And then you need to create content that ladders up to the inquiry form. If you're like, man, we are getting a lot of business, we need more candidates, quality candidates, then you might want to double down over on LinkedIn, showing company culture, company perks, and not just like saying what they are. So if you have a gym, as an example, in the bottom of your building that's open 24 hours to anyone that works there, you best have a photo of this gym. Even better, have people in your swag working out in said gym.
Right.
If you are a big, one of the people that I work with, they're big beer people, engineering firm, and they love brewing beer. They have a lot of beer. It's, that's part of their culture. And so every month they have like a barbecue.
Okay.
And it has a theme. And then there's photos that get taken. I think last it was like Cinco de Mayo, I think was their last one. And like they had the sombrero and the margaritas and the and like all those photos were collected and then shared on their Glassdoor.
Okay.
Which also, if you think about it, is an extension of social.
Sure, of course.
And their LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. So because showing that side of it attracts people in and tells the greater story of what it's like to work there. Versus like saying, we're great, come work for us. It's like, well, are you really? Because everyone can say that.
Right. Everyone does say that.
Yeah. And
no one says we're a terrible place to work.
Accurate. You're totally right. Don't work here.
Don't work here. Avoid us.
Avoid us.
So wow.
So social gives you the opportunity to show behind the scenes a little bit.
Okay. I like that. And that can mean a lot to different audiences.
A lot of different
and potential partners, customers, employees. Yeah.
There's real humans that work here and they like what they do and they're having a great time. And I think a lot of times, especially some of the more stuffy industries, don't like to show that. But then when they do, they realize that they're attracting more of the right type of clients for themselves, as well as the right type of people to work with them.
No, I love that. Karlyn, this is a topic we could keep going. It's like
I know
on, but I'm so thankful. I mean, really shedding some light on the relevance of social media as a platform for a lot of different uses. And yes, it's for B2B too. So that's awesome. So Karlyn, somebody listening right now wanted to know more about you and your work, wanted to contact you. Where should they go?
You can visit my website, osnapsocial.com. That's snapsocial.com. And I have some resources there for you to check out and some blogs. So come join me.
Fantastic. Karlyn, thank you so much for stopping by Business Growth on Purpose. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Business Growth on Purpose. If you like the show, hit subscribe and leave us a review to help other people find the podcast. And if you're ready to take the next step in driving intentional growth for your business, come check out what we're doing at valueprop.com. We've developed industry-leading programs and systems to help B2B owners take control of their growth. Until then, thanks for listening to another episode of Business Growth on Purpose.